boy, you're on.
Hey. There must be two bulls because another fella came up and swam around that boy and went back.
Yeah.
Well, did you decide to go?
Yeah, because apparently there are two different ways they're headed.
And then there's another.
I keep forgetting, Lee, that we don't have to stand still. Oh!
I've got to ruin this, you know.
He reminds me of Jane.
Dorothy.
That's what Lee thinks. Jane doesn't see it.
Oh, Jane. Ayelene.
Yes. Ayelene. She looks like Jane too, but Lee and Jane look like.
Yeah.
She looks like you, Jane.
Mine and Tonton. Mine and
Okay.
Very, very
asthmatic bronchitis so bad. I was in fever and I had fever. It just hung on and on and on. And it was, I was off work almost the whole month of January. I was off, yeah.
Thank you. Hey, Frank, hi, honey. Hey,
You're the slash ski. Just kidding.
Well, not now. Maybe. Is that for me?
It's for you.
Hot damn. Thank you, birthday boy. Frank, somebody for vodka tonic. Is it where you go in there afterwards?
That vodka what?
Vodka tonic.
Thank you. It took you and Sally.
That's what everybody's saying more and more. But
She's a sweetheart. You know, I met her. I was with her a week and a half when I was in Paris.
I didn't recognize you from
I got my glasses on. This is the Frank we were talking about. We're up in Anchorage and telling you here and also and my brother's Frank. But we call him Lee. Wait, this is Frank. Yes. She's got a Frank. Frank is grandson. Yeah, 4. But we call him Lee. But we call him Lee.
I think that's what I'm saying. Yes. No, she explains things. I just explained
Oh, thanks, Frank. I just heard 2 gorgeous little kids.
Okay, what I was going to say about his shoes and what I did. Hey, Frank!
Frank!
Oh, yes.
Oh, that's nice. Fix things up real well. The light's not right. There we go. Okay? Okay, now I have to have this. Wait a minute. Come here. Put that down. Put it down. Katie? Is there room for me to sit just a little accent? I'll be right here. Am I in the way, Reach? No. I'm going to be next to you, Tom.
I'm awfully happy that there are 7 candles here instead of 70. It was all I could do to take care of the 7. But while I'm on my feet, I'd like to say something. And that is, number 1, to thank you all for coming. It's just been great for me. I don't know what I did to deserve it. Anyway, this reminds me that the last birthday I had was when I was 9 or 10 years old. And this was in San Francisco, and I'd like to share some of my memories of San Francisco in 1924.
He was born here.
Or 25. I was born in 1915 when the Pan Pacific Exposition opened. I keep telling Virginia that my mother told me it was 5 o'clock in the morning when the Pan Pacific Exposition opened, and then I was born at 5 o'clock, but she said, and says again, no self-respecting exposition would open at 5 o'clock in the morning.
Frank, yes, but no fair.
Anyway, at that time, my birthday party, and I know this because we had a picture, and I looked for the picture and couldn't find it, but it was a picture of me and 5 of my buddies in Golden Gate Park. We lived out in the Sunset on 18th Avenue, 1262. As a matter of fact, Mike's daughter Dale and her husband Ed lived in the city for a while, and they rented a house right across the street from the house that I grew up in when we were living in San Francisco. Anyway, we had this party, and as I say, it's the last official birthday party I had in the playground in Golden Gate Park. And at that time, the big thing in swings, and a 8 or 9 year old guy and his buddies thought it was great to get in this swing and swing it back and forth. And it was one of these that had seats on both sides, and you know, really loaded up. We had the picture, and unfortunately I couldn't find it. But at that time, some more of these things that I've been thinking about was that the Sunset District was built up to about 35th Avenue, and then from 35th on to about 45th, there was nothing but sand dunes. And we had a great time going out there playing cowboys and Indians. And then there were some rows of houses right on the beach. Is that about right, Jack, as you remember it? And another thing I remember, I think it was about this time that the gas lights were being changed to electricity, and I do remember the lamplighter coming around with the I forget how he did it, but he had a stick and he'd push it up in the evening, and give it a yank, and away the gas light would go. And about that time, as I say, about that time, these lights were being converted to electricity. Also, in your houses, things were being converted from gas to electricity. And it was a big deal because you were lucky, if you were lucky and converted, you had a cord dangling down, and you had a hand-blown electric light globe with a big big point on the end, and I remember that well. I remember that well because I was sick one day and lying in bed, and here my mother had rigged this thing so it dropped over the bed, and absent-mindedly I reached up and chewed on it and bit the light point off. That's when I found out if you swallow something that you shouldn't, that you eat a lot of bread. Those were the times when the ice was delivered. Ice was, that's kind of being a Doomkopf, right?
You ought to go help that lady.
Anyway, those are the times that when you had ice, you didn't have refrigerators, of course, But when you had ice, it came to you in a wagon. And the wagon was drawn by a horse early on and one of the early trucks later. But I can remember this was really great because every kid in the neighborhood got out and talked to the iceman, and if he didn't have some chips of ice on the wood, you know, he would chip some off and hand them out to us. And then one of the favorite characters that disappeared someplace along the line was a rags bottle sax man. He would come along and he would say, rags, bottle sax, and depending on the fellow who did it, you had all kinds of musical harmony, because he had to sing out so people would hear. Remember that, Chuck? And I want Chuck to verify mine. But really the thing I do want to talk to you about, check with Chuck on, is I'm always amazed when I go by the ferry building, because as I remember the ferry building, this was the big building in San Francisco. You could come down onto Market Street, then you could look down Market Street, and you could see this huge building towering above everything else. And maybe that was a Flatiron building higher, or was there any building higher in the 20s, early 20s?
As a building, but not much higher than the tower.
But you too remember that ferry building just towering above everything else. Yeah. So, as we go home today, take a look at that ferry building and see what's happening. Okay, thanks again for coming.